When did Boston begin? And how did you choose the name? The first record's co-producer John Boylan remarked, "Well, you're all from Boston, what do you think about Boston then?" Known as the legendary lead singer of the rock band Boston, Bradley Edward Delp enjoyed a life rich with musical success and personal strife. His voice marked a period of classic rock. His input on several of the best rock albums of the 1970s and 1980s is unquestionable. But under the high singing that won over millions, Delp battled severe personal troubles that finally caused his sad suicide in 2007. Boston's rock band lead singer has perished. Yesterday, Brad Delp's fiancée discovered his dead in his South New Hampshire residence. Though there was no sign of foul play, police call the death premature. Fans, bandmates and friends of Brad Delp were shocked by his passing. Many were left wondering why someone who had brought so much happiness via his music would choose to end his life. Many pointed to his rocky relationship with Tom Scholz, the Boston creator, as speculation ran rampant about the events preceding his death. Some say Delp's position inside the band, Scholz's control, and the pressure of the band's internal politics all contributed to his weak mental condition. Though these conditions could have intensified his sadness, they do not justify his behavior. While personal battles can help explain a person's behavior, they do not excuse them from the repercussions of their actions. This tale is not only about Brad Delp's amazing voice or his impact on rock and roll, it is about a guy who, despite his accomplishments, fought inner problems many around him never completely grasped. It is a meditation on how fame and personal suffering interact, how the demands of stardom can exacerbate mental health issues, and how the decisions we make, shaped by our situation, nevertheless hold us responsible for the damage they create. Examining both his ascent to celebrity and the psychological struggles that finally caused his untimely death, we will explore in this video Brad Delp's life and the idea that although his demons are reasonable, they do not justify his actions. Musical starting in his hometown of Peabody, Massachusetts, Brad Delp's early life was molded by a profound love of music. Brad was the youngest of 4 children and grew up in a loving but financially strapped home. Early difficulties significantly shaped his character by showing him the need of perseverance, diligence, and commitment. Brad's love of music never faded despite these obstacles. From the beginning, it was obvious his life would be shaped by his passion for performance. When he joined the church choir, Brad's childhood marked the beginning of his musical journey. This first encounter with music provided him with an early basis in vocal training and a feeling of belonging. The turning event, then, that would shape his musical career was in 1964, when the Beatles famously appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show. Like many others, Brad was drawn to the band's enthusiasm, personality, and music. This concert set off a fire in him that would drive his love of music for many years. Motivated by the Beatles' catchy tunes and harmonies, Brad quickly bought a guitar and learned to play on his own. Teenage Brad created his first band, formerly known as the Iguanas. This ensemble would eventually rename itself the Monks. It became Brad's means of honing his musical abilities. The Monks played several Beatles covers throughout Brad's high school years, and it was during this time that he started to be acknowledged for his exceptional singing talents. What distinguished him from others in his society was his inherent capacity to mimic the unique harmonies of the Beatles. His love of music was unmistakable, and by the time he finished high school, his road as a musician was obviously set. The years after high school, though he felt it required to work a day job, Brad's emphasis stayed on music. Working at a manufacturing company, he made heating coils for Mr. Coffee machines. Though his work was demanding, Brad stayed committed to his music. His will would shortly take him to a crucial meeting with a like-minded person who would alter the path of his life. He used his free time to keep honing his abilities as a singer and musician. Tom Scholz, a gifted guitarist with a dream for starting a rock band that would permanently influence the music business, was that person. Scholz dreamed of starting a band that blended strong melodic rock music with technical accuracy. Delp met Scholz and his project, then known as Mother's Milk. Delp's singing abilities soon wowed Scholz, who thereafter became a key band member. The band's name would soon be Boston, which would become synonymous with classic rock music. Mother's Milk would be thrown away. Joining Boston signaled a turning point in Brad Delp's career. The band's swift rise to fame came from its smooth sound and flawless blending of Delp's strong soaring vocals with Scholz's detailed guitar playing. Boston's self-titled debut album, the band would find great commercial success in 1976. Millions of listeners were drawn to the album's slick production, appealing hooks and harmonies, which propelled Delp and the band into the spotlight. Boston's success was greatly influenced by Brad's vocal talent and the band's creative sound. His impact in defining the band's identity would be important for the rest of his career. Brad Delp's early life and musical beginnings laid the groundwork for his ascent to prominence as the main singer of Boston, a band destined to create a lasting impact in rock music history. From a young child motivated by the Beatles to the booming voice of one of the most successful rock bands of the 1970s and beyond, his path attests to his commitment, ability and love of music. By means of diligence and tenacity, Brad Delp's impact still echoes in the rock music scene, the creation of Boston, as he attained the success many aspiring musicians only dream of by means of diligence and tenacity. Working on something innovative, a multi-track recording system he constructed in his basement, former MIT graduate with an engineering background Tom Scholz was in the early 1970s. Scholz loved music. His engineering knowledge meanwhile pushed him to play with creative sounds and recording methods. He signed Brad Delp to assist him in recording several demos at this time. Delp, whose strong and emotional voice had already started to stand out, turned out to be the ideal fit for Scholz's ambitious musical concept. The two of them together set the foundation for what would later be the famous Boston sound. Working together in the basement studio, they produced a number of demos highlighting the band's promise. Epic Records took notice of the meticulously detailed, precisely recorded demos. The label was interested in the distinctive sound produced by Scholz and Delp, but they preferred to witness the band play live before considering a record deal. This call laid the groundwork for the complete band that would eventually alter rock music history. Scholz rapidly gathered a collection of musicians to satisfy the need for a live performance. The band Boston was created. Though Scholz had a definite notion of what he wanted the band to sound like, he also understood the need of locating players who could enhance his vision. The band includes guitarist Barry Goudreau, drummer Sib Hashian, bassist Fran Sheehan, and synthesizer keyboard player Tom Scholz himself. The last components of the puzzle were in place. The band started to practice and get ready for the important live event that would shape their destiny. Released in 1976, Boston's first album Boston swiftly became a great hit, setting records and confirming the band as one of the most powerful groups of the day. Audiences responded to the album's polished sound, marked by complex production and detailed guitar work. Among the outstanding songs were More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, and Foreplay Long Time, which all highlighted Brad Delp's amazing vocal range and strength. Soaring voice of his defined Boston sound, and drew millions of listeners all over the world. The success of the record depended on Delp's vocals, which harmonized perfectly with Scholz's technical expertise in the studio. Delp's emotive delivery combined with Scholz's careful manufacturing and Delp's emotional performance produced a sound that was bigger than life. Perfect for radio play, the multi-layered harmonies became immediately recognizable, and the band fast gained fame. At the time, Boston was the best-selling debut album, a remarkable accomplishment that confirmed the band's position in rock history. Though Boston was financially successful, the band had inner strife. Self-described perfectionist Tom Scholz was famous for his hands-on commitment to the creative leadership of the band. Often devoting endless hours fine-tuning every aspect of their music, he oversaw production. Although this careful strategy produced the excellent sound that characterized the band's first album, it also created conflict with Boston's other members. As the band progressed, Scholz's domineering attitude would cause conflict, establishing a setting where disputes about artistic authority would finally surface. Though it did little to diminish the success of their first record, the tension inside Boston would influence the dynamics of the band in the years to come. Both for its creative sound and for its great financial success, Boston became a landmark in rock music. A period of rock music was defined by Brad Delp's vocal combined with Tom Scholz's imaginative production. The fight behind the music would define Boston's identity throughout the band's history, and their collaboration would remain a major factor. Pressure on Boston's members, especially on Brad Delp, the band's lead singer, mounted as the city prospered. The anticipation for their second album, Don't Look Back, were huge following the publication of their first highly successful record. After a long 2-year wait, the album was published in 1978. Though production took longer, it soon topped the U.S. album charts. At first glance, it appeared to be another triumph for the band. But beyond the surface, conflicts were forming, and the fight behind the music was starting to affect its members, particularly Delp. The growing tense relationship between Brad Delp and Tom Scholz, the band's founder, was one of the main causes of band tension. Main producer and songwriter legendary, Scholz's perfectionism drove Boston's refined sound. But the same perfectionism created a taxing and unpleasant workplace. Scholz's extreme emphasis on every element of the music mixed with his determination to keep strict control over the band's direction created a climate where creative contribution from other members, including Delp, became secondary.